The morning light poured through the long windows, but it didn't feel warm. Maya stood by the kitchen counter, staring at the kettle that had just boiled. The steam rose slowly, curling like smoke, fading before it reached the ceiling. She didn't remember turning it on. Her husband, Neil, came down the stairs in his usual neat shirt, tie already in place. "Couldn't sleep again?" he asked casually, like it was routine now. Maya nodded, forcing a smile. "Just woke up early." He kissed her on the cheek, quick, distant, and went to check his phone by the window. She noticed something strange. His phone's wallpaper, a picture of them smiling at a beach. But she'd never been to that beach. She wanted to ask, but he was already walking out the door, muttering about meetings, when the door shut. The silence pressed down hard. Only the hum of the fridge filled the room. She wandered through the house, the one Neil said they'd built together. Every wall felt too white, too new. She touched the picture frames in the hallway. There were photos of her, birthdays, vacations, dinners, but in every one, she looked slightly different. Same face, different eyes. At noon, she found a note on the kitchen table. It was in her handwriting. "Don't forget to take your pills." She didn't remember writing it. The small white bottle was waiting beside the sink. She read the label. "Prescribed by Dr. Halden." She didn't know any Dr. Halden. Her phone buzzed. A text from Neil. "Don't forget your 2 p.m. appointment. He'll be waiting." No name, no address, just that message. Maya's chest tightened. She opened her gallery app, scrolling through her photos, hundreds of them, her face smiling in front of rooms she didn't recognize. Her hands shook. Every image was dated before last week. Then she heard the doorbell. A man in a beige coat stood outside, holding a folder. "Mrs. Clark?" he asked, smiling too kindly. "I'm Dr. Halden. You're a little late." Maya froze. She didn't remember making any appointment. But when she looked behind him, she saw Neil's car parked at the end of the street, engine running. Maya hesitated at the doorway, the man's polite smile frozen in place. Her instinct screamed to close the door, but something in his eyes felt familiar, like a face she should remember, but couldn't place. He stepped inside gently, uninvited, scanning the house as if confirming something. "Let's just talk here," he said softly. "You've been under a lot of stress lately." His tone was rehearsed. Maya crossed her arms. "I don't remember making any appointment." He opened the folder and turned it toward her. Inside were photographs of her, sitting in this very living room, dated over several months. Each one showed her smiling faintly beside him. Her mouth went dry. "I've never met you before." Dr. Halden nodded with practiced patience. "That's what you said last week, too." Her phone buzzed again. A message from Neil. "He's there to help you. Please cooperate this time." Maya stared at the text until the words blurred. She looked up, but Dr. Halden was already walking toward the hallway, examining the framed photos on the wall. "These are lovely," he murmured. "You chose these after your treatment started." "My what?" she snapped. He turned, expression calm. "Your therapy. You've been struggling to separate memories." Neil said it's been getting worse. Maya felt something twist in her stomach. She stepped back, her heel hitting the edge of a rug she didn't remember buying. "I think you should leave." But he didn't move. He simply gestured toward the table. "Before I go, just one thing. You left this here last time." It was a small voice recorder, her initials etched on the side. He pressed play. A woman's voice filled the room, shaking, tearful, but unmistakably hers. "I don't know what's real anymore. Neil says I imagined the accident, but I saw it. I saw her." The recording ended abruptly. Maya's knees weakened. "What accident?" she whispered. Dr. Halden closed the folder. "That's what we were discussing when you stopped coming." Then he smiled, almost sympathetic. "It's important to remember things exactly as they happened, not how fear rewrites them, Maya backed toward the kitchen, the sound of her heartbeat pounding in her ears. The man walked out calmly, as if nothing strange had happened, through the window. She watched him shake Neil's hand at the end of the street before driving away, her throat closed. Neil hadn't gone to work. He'd been watching the house all along. By sunset, the house had grown darker than usual. Maya didn't turn on the lights. She wanted the walls to stop watching her. Neil's car pulled into the driveway, headlights cutting across the curtains. He walked in quietly, setting his keys on the counter like nothing was wrong. "How was your session?" he asked, without looking at her. She kept her voice steady. "Fine. We talked about memories." He nodded, almost relieved. "Good, that's progress." She studied him, his calm, his careful tone. Every movement felt rehearsed, to perfect. When she reached for a glass, she noticed her hand trembling. Neil saw it. "You forgot your pills again, didn't you?" He opened the cabinet and pulled out the same white bottle, but this time, she noticed the label, the printing slightly smudged. The name Dr. Halden written in fresh ink. Her chest tightened. She took the bottle and tipped it over. Inside were not pills, but tiny rolled papers, each one with dates and single words written in her handwriting. March 5th, scream. April 10th, glass shatter. May 2nd, blood. Neil's voice hardened. "You weren't supposed to find those." Maya stepped back, the bottle clattering to the floor. "What did you do?" she whispered. He sighed, rubbing his temples. "You saw something you shouldn't have. You called the police that night. You don't remember, because you begged me to make you forget." Her head spun. "You're lying." He pointed to the recorder on the table. "Play it again." Her fingers shook as she pressed play. This time, the voice continued beyond where it had cut off before. "I saw her fall." He pushed her. He said no one would believe me. "I just wanted to stop." The recording ended with a single sob. Hers. Maya stared at Neil, her breath shallow. "You killed her." He didn't answer. He only smiled faintly. "You said you'd rather forget than ruin our life. I was protecting you." Then he reached toward the recorder, calmly turning it off. But the light on the device blinked twice, still recording. Outside, the faint flash of red and blue lights appeared through the window. Neil froze. Maya's phone lay beside the recorder, the call still active. The operator's voice faintly audible. "Ma'am, stay where you are. Help is arriving." For the first time, Neil's expression cracked. Maya's voice, calm and steady now. "You were right, Neil. I did forget." But the house didn't. The sirens grew louder, flooding the walls with color. As officers broke through the front door, Neil turned toward her, stunned, betrayed, while Maya stood perfectly still, bathed in flashing light, finally remembering everything. The night after Dr. Halden's visit, Maya couldn't sleep. The house creaked with strange, deliberate sounds, a soft tap in the hallway, a whispering hum from the vent. She told herself it was the wind, but the air was still. When she woke up, Neil was already in the kitchen, humming faintly. "You were talking again in your sleep," he said, saying the same name. "What name?" He smiled without answering and set a cup of tea before her. "Drink this. It'll help you feel calm." The cup smelled faintly metallic. She pretended to sip, then poured it down the sink. When his back was turned, a small white residue clung to the drain. Later, while Neil showered, Maya searched his desk. Every drawer was locked, except one. Inside, she found a set of printed photos. All of them were of her, standing in the yard, staring toward the woods behind the house. In each picture, she was wearing the same clothes. When Neil came out, towel around his neck, she asked, "When did you take these?" He frowned. "I didn't. You did. You left them on the counter last week." "That's not possible, Maya." He sighed. "You've done this before. You make up stories when you're scared." Her throat tightened. She wanted to argue, but felt the weight of his calm voice pressing her down. He stepped closer. "You trust me, don't you?" "I don't know anymore." His smile didn't reach his eyes. The next morning,
That's just the
Maya
medicine
acted
wearing
normal,
off.
calm,
That
quiet,
evening,
and obedient.
she found the
just
small
like
voice
Neil wanted.
recorder again.
She made him breakfast.
The one Dr.
smiled
Halden
when he
had
spoke,
left behind.
nodded when he mentioned
Only
her.
this time,
Progress.
there was a
but her
second
mind
recording.
was somewhere
Neil's
else.
voice.
She had
She's
hidden the
starting to
recorder
ask questions
inside
again.
the old vent.
If she
in the
remembers,
study,
we'll
the
have
same
to
place
reset
she
her
once
sooner.
found dust
Her
covered.
pulse froze.
Photo frames she
Reset
didn't
her.
remember.
The sound of
Owning.
footsteps
All
in the
she had to
hallway
do now
made
was
her
wait
hide
out
the
at
recorder
noon.
under the
Neil
couch
left
cushion.
to run errands.
Neil
She
appeared,
followed him from
holding
the
a
upstairs
blanket.
window.
"You
He
look
drove to
cold.
blocks away.
Let's sit
parked,
together."
and entered
He
Dr.
switched
Halden's
off the
office.
main
Her
lights.
pulse quickened.
Only the
She
faint
picked
lamp
up the
in the
phone
corner
and
stayed
called the
on,
number listed on
painting
the
the
folder
room
he'd
in a
shown her
dull
days
gold
before.
haze.
Dr.
She sat
Halden's
beside
clinic.
him,
A woman's
rigid.
voice answered.
His hand
"We're
rested
sorry,
lightly on her
but Dr.
shoulder.
Halden passed
Everything's
away 2 years
okay."
ago."
He whispered.
Maya's hand went cold.
"You're safe here."
"That's not possible.
But outside,
he was here
through the
yesterday."
reflection in the
Silence
window,
on the line.
she could see
Then,
him watching her,
"Are you sure?"
not with affection,
His office has
but
been closed
calculation
since the
dot,
fire.
and behind
she hung
him,
up. The
in that
walls
reflection,
seemed to tilt
a
slightly.
faint movement
Everything,
near the stairs,
the photos,
a shadow
the
she
pills,
didn't
the folder,
recognize.
was an illusion, all designed to make her question herself. By the time Neil came home, she was ready. He smiled faintly, setting a paper bag on the counter. "I brought dinner." Maya turned on the recorder and pressed play, loud enough for the whole room to hear. Neil's face drained of color as his own voice filled the air. "If she remembers, we'll have to reset her sooner." Then another clip, a woman's voice screaming faintly, followed by Neil's calm tone, "Erase everything. She doesn't need to know." He lunged toward her, but Maya stepped back, holding her phone up. "They already heard it," she said softly. The call screen glowed. The same emergency number from before. "Why?" she whispered. "Why did you do this to me?" Neil's voice broke. "You weren't supposed to wake up that night. You saw what happened to her. You wouldn't let it go." "The neighbor?" He didn't answer, but his silence was enough. Sirens flashed outside. Maya stood frozen as officers rushed in, their voices sharp and distant. Neil was dragged out in handcuffs, still shouting her name. Hours later, the house was quiet again. Too quiet. Maya sat in the living room, the same chair where she had once recorded herself, the same place Neil had stood smiling like nothing was wrong. On the wall, a faint scratch, words carved deep beneath the paint. "Remember what you saw." She traced the letters with her fingertips. For the first time in months, she felt steady. Not safe, but free. Outside, dawn broke across the sky, painting the house in pale gold. She looked toward the window, and this time, the reflection staring back at her wasn't frightened anymore. If you like history, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.